It is 9 a.m. technically on a Sunday, because last week at this time of the day, it was 8 a.m. on a Sunday. Why we have this stupid time change, I do not know. But we're very, very thrilled and happy that it is time once again for Lisa's Changing Perceptions right here on 216 The Net, 216thenet.com. Lisa, happy, joyful, joyous, good morning to you. I am fantastic. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. The time change thing didn't affect me all that much because I slept so much last night.
Did you?
Yeah, I fell asleep really early. And I didn't want to get up this morning, so it was an interesting...
I did not. I slept really late. I mean, I did not sleep really late. I went to bed really late, and then I did not really sleep, so there you are.
Well, you know, your sleep pattern thing's been a conversation in the past we have to work on.
Yeah.
Do you want to do our sponsor, and then we'll do the... I don't want to forget her.
I suppose I shouldn't I?
Yes, because we're very grateful for her.
I was so distracted by the time change and complaining about it that I completely forgot our amazing, incredible, wonderful sponsor, who we do see right on the YouTube live feed and Facebook live feed right now, which is the Bremer Team, Keller Williams, North Shore West. Bremer Team, for all your real estate needs, they bring families home. Reach them at bremerteam.com and 847-456-6334. Again, 847-456-6334. And now we're back to you, Lisa.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Lisa with Lisa's Changing Perceptions. I am a self-empowerment coach, NLP practitioner, and hypnotherapist. We talk about different topics here. Every week, it seems to be a little bit different. Today, we're going to talk about victim or victor or both. And there's a reason for it. So we'll get into that. And I think Pete's going to get involved in this one with me a little bit because we've had conversations about this. Anybody who would like to join in, Pete, there's a link in the comments. Is that correct?
There will be.
There will be a link in the comments. So you can click if you'd like to come on the screen live and either ask a question or give some input or an experience that you'd like to share when it comes to any of the topics, or just like to join us because you'd like to be here on the screen. Sharing information with us, you're welcome to. If you'd like to set up a private session or appointment, you're welcome to contact me at lisaschangingperceptions.com, lisaschangingperceptions@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook under Lisa Changing Perceptions. You can text or call me at 262-573-7055, or you can always reach me through 216thenet.com, and Pete will be sure that I get any messages that you have.
Absolutely.
Also, messages can include a question or a topic you would like to have discussed. If there's a topic that I've discussed in the past and you'd like to go a little deeper with it, if you have a specific question or a specific situation that you're wondering how would it be addressed or looking for some insight or what have you, those are questions that are welcome as well. So feel free. I'd love this show to become a lot more interactive. I realize that sometimes people don't like to discuss these types of things, you know, in general to the public on the air. So I do offer the private sessions, but if it's something you're comfortable with, if you do email me, you are welcome to say, please don't use my name. And it'll be completely anonymous, but I can address your topic too. So always feel free to communicate. I'm pretty open. What you see on the air of how I am and who I am is exactly who I am all the time. So feel welcome to ask whatever it is you like. I don't really walk around in too much judgment about anything. So feel free to get through to us. And Pete, is there anything that I need to address that I missed?
Not at the moment.
Right,
I don't think.
I have not had enough coffee this morning, so now you will get to see me.
I did not make coffee.
I know you did. That's
morning.
okay. I could have stopped for some too, but I didn't.
I grabbed my Diet Dr. Pepper on the way out.
Ew.
Yeah, ew. It's the only diet soda that actually tastes like the regular soda, and the only reason I grabbed it is because Mary Catherine happened to buy it, and it was in the fridge.
Oh. Yeah,
otherwise, I don't really do
ew.
Diet sodas or sodas
I have
too much.
nothing more to say about it. Just ew.
It's not bad though. Sorry.
I don't.
But I that's what I grabbed.
I don't like regular Dr. Pepper, so that's probably part of it. No.
I don't mind. I like Dr. Pepper. I don't mind Dr. Pepper. By the way, Dr. Pepper, the check is in the mail for the massive amount of plugs you just got. So let's see, who is this packaged by? We'll bill them, the bottling company or canning company. I don't know. We'll find out. Oh, there's a phone number here. I'm not
Well,
gonna...
you know what? And I guess we'll bring that up before we start. We're hitting, I didn't count. How many countries are they now, Pete?
Um, Overall, 247. Those are on our board. I think that's about the top 20 on our board right now.
So as far as advertisers go, if you're not local to McHenry County, but you have an international brand or an international product, a website product that could be shipped anywhere, please know that we are reaching, how many people did we reach just in the month of February?
1.8 million, 1.8 million and change.
And as well as multiple countries. So as far as advertisers and sponsors go, you don't have to be local to McHenry County. If you have a product that you sell online or an international brand or what have you, we are welcoming.
Absolutely.
We are welcoming all that advertising too. So I'm going to throw a plug out there. So today we're going to talk about victim or victor or both. And I had told everybody a couple weeks ago that I was going to have a session with my instructor because I was feeling a little bit blocked. And I did do that. And it was very interesting. It was interesting to be on the other side of the desk. Mm-hmm. And so, as I've always done in the past, I'll do now and just throw it out there. He obviously he's my instructor. He wasn't my instructor for hypnotherapy. He was my instructor for NLP, for my NLP practitioner certification, as well as biofeedback certifications. He's a very nice man. I'm going to try and get him to come on the show with me if I can get him to remote in because he's out in California, so that everyone can meet him. He does a lot of lectures on the law of manifestation and law of attraction. As well. So I'm going to try and get him on the show. But anyway, I found myself the day of his appointment being filled with anxiety and horrified.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Wow.
I was driving. I went to work that day and because he's in California and he was seeing me kind of after hours. So yeah, it was going to be 8:00 our time, 6:00 his time. And so after work, I ran my errands and I'm driving and I'm feeling this anxiety build. I'm like, okay, this is so uncomfortable. And I thought, okay, what are you afraid of? I did all the questions that I would ask a client to myself because that's my head's always in there. And I was like, okay, what are you afraid of? And so I started breaking it down. And I don't know how to word this. I hope it comes out well. I realized in breaking it down that there was a part of me that was afraid it would work. And I was like, okay.
You didn't want it to?
Well, I mean, I did want it to consciously. I wanted it to because I wanted to stop feeling how I was feeling about it and stop self-sabotaging, which is what I was doing, is self-sabotaging things. Yeah. And I knew because of what I do that it's coming from down in there. And I do my own work and I actually do practice what I do with people. I do practice it on myself, but for some reason I couldn't get all the way in there with it. So I thought, okay, well, go see somebody who does what you do. Okay. And who better to go see than the instructor who trained you to do what you do. So right. And I have a rapport with him. Like there's just an energy about him that I was like, yeah, I'll resonate with him. He'll get me, like it'll feel comfortable. But I was driving and I started to self-analyze, which is where my head is most of my life. And I realized, I was a little bit afraid that it was going to work. Huh. And I thought, okay, where is that coming from? And it's a whole cobweb of things, but it kind of narrowed down to a reality that I hadn't really put in perspective in my own life. And as I thought about it and have filtered it over the last couple of days after my session with him, I realized how many people probably do this and don't realize it. So in filtering all this out and realizing I had a fear that this might actually work. When I had my session with him, and started to chit chat, because for the record, this is the first time I remember speaking to him in person. I've talked to him by text and I've watched him on a video screen. But okay. This was our first communication face to face. Or about anything personal, and he said, so tell me about you. And we did that thing. And he said, so what made you come today? And I said, well, I thought I knew, but before my appointment, I got horrified. And he said, horrified? Why? Am I scary? And he laughed. And I did find out he has my sense of humor too. So that's not always. And I said, no. He said, are you afraid it won't work? And I said, no, I'm afraid it will. And he went, that's interesting. So tell me about it, And I said, I realized that all of the things that have brought me to where I am now, this may be a Terry show, that brought me to where I am now, we're conquering something. We're overcoming something. So, dysfunctional relationship with my dad made me strong and outspoken. Sexual abuse at a young age made me have a great respect for intimacy and trust. Losing a child made me a better mother. Losing my husband made me a better partner and made me respect and have appreciation as a better partner more. Meeting someone who I loved and was in so much pain made me go on a search for how to solve it, how to get rid of it, which is what made me go back to school. And it made me become all the things that I'm really, really proud of now. And what he helped me realize, and I didn't even realize I was doing it, is that I had intertwined the victim with the victor.
Oh, wow.
So,
holy cow. So, by the way,
go ahead.
Ted Legal says, good morning. Hey, everyone. And he also says, I self-analyze way too much, too. And Denise Maple says, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. I realized that I had intertwined my victim with my victor. And in talking to him, and again, these are subconscious, unconscious things. And that's what the point why I wanted to talk about it is that I didn't realize why I was self-sabotaging, not being sad, not feeling the heartache, not feeling the heartbreak, not feeling the guilt, not feeling like I had to save the world, always reaching out and sacrificing everything to save the world. And it was an intermingling that I wasn't even aware of, that if I took away the painful emotions that forced me to become victorious. In other words, that's what pushed me and drove me to go where I was, that what I had become would crumble.
And you'd lose your driving force.
It became a part of the pain and the hurt and the heartbreak and, those things became a part of my identity. So if I took away the emotional attachment to those things that made me feel a certain way, that all of a sudden I wouldn't be who I am now. And he said, so what's your greatest fear? I said, what if you take that away? What if you help me take that away and then I don't care? What if you take it away and I all of a sudden I don't give a shit about anybody or anything? And it was just being honest. That was a real fear that came into my head as I went, okay, why are you so anxious? And he did help me put it in a different perspective and reframe it. And they were even things that I knew, because he said, well, but it's the essence of you that chose to take those things and become better for it. It's the essence of you that said, no, you're going to be the warrior. You're not going to be the victim to this. It's the essence of who you are and who you chose to be that brought you where you were. So you're going to be that either way. Because there are people who go through things and choose not to be. They choose to become angry or to hurt people or, or whatever it is. He said, so that's the essence of who you are, chose to go do those things. But the little kid in you, so to speak, or your unconscious mind in you has that fear. So we're going to show it. And he said, so I'm going to ask you, what if we can disconnect and unplug? Because he said, what does it feel like? And I explained it like I explained on the air. I said, it's like I know what's wrong and I know what I'm seeing and I can do all that, but I can't unplug the plug from the outlet, like take the charge away from it. Like it still sucks me back. And he said, that's literal. He said, as you're talking to me and you're telling me, that's literal. Your electrical system is very attached to this. Your body's electrical system is very attached to this. And that's why it makes it so difficult to turn off. He said, so we're going to help turn it off. And part of what NLP does is literally kind of detach the physical reaction of your body from it.
Okay.
But he said, so what if we do this? And what if you don't care about what you care about now? And I said, well, that's what I'm afraid of. And he said, how happy are you? Are you where you want to be? Do you like feeling how you're feeling? And I was like, well, but no. And he goes, okay.
Well, but no.
So what if we take that away and you do care still about what you do, but you're driven by passion, love, and concern that's genuine, and not by self-torment, self-sacrifice, and self-sabotage. He goes, what if that's it? And I said, oh. And he goes, and what if you don't care about what you care about now, but the thing you find that you do care about is driven by passion, love, and truth? And I said, well, that sounds like kind of a win-win now. When you put it that way, like,
yeah.
But he's like, right. So it was just really interesting because I consider myself to be, self-analyzing, self-reflective to a fault, and obviously educated in how to do all these things. But the unconscious thought process that was sabotaging me was really interesting. And the only thing that made it come to the surface was when I was forced for it to come to the surface. In other words, now I can't say my appointment is next week and push it away. Now I'm an hour or two from it. I've paid for it.
Right.
And I'm going, ooh, this doesn't feel good. I don't, why doesn't this feel good? I should be excited, right? I'm meeting my instructor who I have great respect for, and he's going to make me feel better. And I should have all these. And I'm like, but I'm horrified and start analyzing it. Why are you laughing?
Because I know someone else who had those exact same feelings who's coming to see you. And I had that exact same conversation with that person.
Right.
So...
And that's why I'm grateful I did it for multiple reasons. One is it really did help to reframe things and put it in a different perspective and disconnect some things. And I'm actually going to see him again next week. But the other was it was incredibly interesting to be on the other side of the desk.
Yeah.
And I realized, because I truly do care about my clients, and this really does mean something to me, heartfelt. When I'm in my office or even when I'm on the air here, everything else going on outside of here that I may have discomfort with is gone.
And Ted says he can relate to that and that it makes a lot of sense. And also Shayna says good morning as well.
Good morning, Shayna.
With a shamrock. Because I guess that's St. Patrick's Day on Wednesday, right?
Oh, is it? That's coming up Wednesday?
Yeah.
I'm a corned beef and cabbage girl, so I'll be happy.
Oh, there you go.
But it was interesting to be on the other side of the desk. And I think in a weird way, it's going to make me even better at what I do, because now I used to have this thing like, well, I'm so excited somebody's coming. They must be excited to see me too. Like they want to get better and they believe in what I do. And I'm just like, oh, yay, something that. And then I went, oh my God, this is really hard for them. This is really hard for them. They're not a bundle of sunshine bouncing into the office ready for change. They're scared. And I think it will help me to kind of get that relation and that rapport built too, to be on the other side of the desk. It was an incredibly enlightening experience. And the things that I realized the things that I know that I didn't know.
Okay.
Or the things that I knew that I didn't know I knew. That's how he likes to word it. Look at all the things that you knew that you didn't even know you knew. And it was interesting. And we ended up doing this, a process. We did the timeline process. You guys have seen me do it on the air with somebody, where we go through the life timeline. And he said, go to the place where how did he word it? Go to the place where you did not fit in and you were not the same or good enough. And I was like, okay. And because I understand what to do, it kind of went fast because I understand what to do because I know the tools, and because I'm in tuned in I can get there real quick. And I ended up at a birthday party when I was 3, and I saw it clear. But visions are my thing, so that that's something that comes naturally. And he said, okay. He goes, can you see it? And I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, perfect. Where are you? And I said, I'm sitting and watching everybody, like everybody out on the playground. It was at a park. And I'm watching everybody. And he said, what are you thinking and feeling? I said, I'm kind of sad. And he goes, why are you sad? And I said, because I'm looking at everybody going, this is not you. This is not your people. you're not with your people. Like having this very different, not that they weren't family or like that, but feeling very disconnected and different. And feeling like I just don't fit here. But it was more of a feeling of fit here, like in the world, fit here, not necessarily just a family thing. And he said, so are you angry? And I said, no, I'm just really, really, really sad. And he said, okay. And we did the process. Like I said, you guys have seen on there where we're going to drop the sadness. We're going to leave the sadness of the event. We're only going to take the learnings. We go before it. And, it's a whole process that you do. And we did all that. And then we went back in and he said, okay, are you sad? And I said, no. And he said, what are you feeling? I said, a weird understanding. And he said, what? Tell me about your understanding. I said, now I'm looking at all of them when I remove the emotion from it. And I'm looking at all of them and I just have this understanding. And I kept saying in my head, and I was at my 3-year-old stage, they don't know. They don't know there's something bigger. They don't know. And realizing that I was still attached to where we are before we come.
Yeah.
And that and looking at them, and almost the sadness was like, they don't know. They don't know that there's something bigger than this. They don't know that there's something greater than this. And it was a very enlightening and strange experience. And just for those who didn't see that episode, I forget what it was called, but it's when I had the guest. She came on remotely, Natalia.
Oh, yeah.
If you go back to that episode, you can see what I'm talking about as far as the timeline therapy goes. Timeline therapy is very effective. But it was really incredible to go, wow. And then, so after the whole thing, he said, have you always been in tune with spirit? Have you? And I said, I remember once I discovered it when I was 40. I remembered then realizing what it was that, yes, as a child, I did see things and I did, hear things. And I was very aware of those things. And like I've said on the air, you and I talked about it once. I remember when I was really little, there was a window right next to my bed. And I would sit on my bed and look out the window. And I would just wonder, why aren't the ships here? When are the ships coming? Like that I knew there was something else out there that there, and just sitting there, just watching the sky, not afraid, but just wondering, when are they coming? Like, when are they coming back? And so I said no, but then it's like I opened back up to it when I was 40 because life experiences brought it that way. So,
that was the moment you made the decision to struggle, was the name of that one.
Okay. So yeah, if you guys want to understand timeline therapy more and what I'm talking about, you can go back and rewatch that show on YouTube. If you type in 216 the net space Lisa, all the old episodes will pull up and you can find it. And
you actually even have your own entire episode playlist on that channel. So,
I do. Tell them how to do that then, because I'm not technology literate.
You can actually go to 216 the net on YouTube, and then you can go to the playlist section and you will find Lisa's Changing Perceptions, and you'll find all of her past episodes, of which there are 25 in that queue right now. So
Has it been that long?
26 as of, at the end of today, there'll be 26. So
I didn't realize it had been that long.
Yeah. So, that's not even all of them. Because you started in June last year.
Was it that? Or I was trying to think of that the other, gosh, it doesn't seem like it's so. Yeah. I'll be renewing another year. Because I love it. And if Pete will have, I should say that. What if Pete locks the door and says, no, you're not? We don't know.
Well, you weren't supposed to know we were changing the keys in the lock. No, of course we want you back. Are you kidding? You're our number one Sunday show.
What a conquest there.
Well, you should have said, wow, that's amazing. Now they know there's a joke in there because you're our only live Sunday show. But everything else is pre-scheduled and popped in here. But no, we love Lisa, and this show is amazing and has amazing followers. In fact, Lisa gets about an average of about 500,000, yes, about 500,000 listeners every Sunday morning. So there you go. That's how many people absolutely love tuning into Lisa. Keep going.
And I'm getting the wave now.
Yeah.
Now I got to get back on track. So my point being is that when we came back in, and he worded it again, so now you know what you knew that you didn't even know you knew.
There you go.
And
Shayna, by the way, Shayna says this is the best Sunday show.
Thank you, Shayna. Shayna, you should click in sometime and join us. I would be happy to chat with you. So anyway, my point in doing it is looking at it and the experience that I had being on the other side of the desk and the reason I wanted to share it is because as I've then filtered it, because then I can't just take that and like go with it. I have to then analyze it and filter it and place it where it needs to go in my mind and what have you, is that I wonder how many people do that and don't realize it. Where I never looked at myself as the victim. I always looked at myself as the victor. And I was talking to my friend on my way in this morning about this because she's similar to me this way. But I said, isn't it interesting? Because I didn't realize I was, by holding on to the victim, what I had built my identity to be was, but look at all this pain and I overcame it. I became better for it. And in my own mind, I had placed those two things together. In other words, interwoven, but being the victim is what makes you strong. And you're proving to yourself that you're stronger than that, but holding on to the emotional victim status. So in other words, carrying all that baggage of the hurt and the disappointment and the self-sabotage and the shame and the guilt and all those things. But I wasn't consciously thinking of those things all the time. To become better, I'd stop and go, but wait a minute, you don't want to do that. You learned that here. Now we're going to go this road. And so to me, I had already overcome and let those things go. And I didn't even realize that unconsciously I was sabotaging everything and making it 10 times harder than it had to be by dragging this baggage with that's no longer needed.
Wow.
So let go of the emotional attachment to it. I don't need to carry shame over it. Was I ashamed of some of the choices that I made in my life? Well, of course. But you took those choices and you changed your path and you became better because of them. So now the shame can go away. Just take the learning. Because dragging the shame along with and dragging the guilt along with and dragging all these things along with are just making it a really difficult course.
And I think because of exactly what you're saying, Ted asks, then the question is as the victor, do you leave those issues in the past? Do you lose, to me, is that then, do you lose your sense of victorious triumph if you leave
that
all
was
that
my fear
alone?
That was my fear. But no, it is possible, and he worked with me some, and again, we're going to do more next week, to detach the emotional attachment from it and only bring with the learnings. So in other words, I can look back at that and know, I wish I would have done something better. I can see where I made a bad choice there. And then look at it and go, and you know what? Because of that bad choice, I'm now this. So I don't cry. I don't go, throw myself
into the emotion.
Back into the flames of torture. I don't have to continue to, I guess I don't know what the best way, continue to keep making up for it.
Right.
Because that's what we end up doing in that cycle is, yes, we're becoming better and yes, we're becoming the victor. But when we're dragging all these emotions with it, we're craving to make up for that. We're craving to make up for that. And I said, that's what it's become. I said, and that's what I was doing before I called you. It's like I've been chasing a validation that isn't there. Because we can't ever get validation from somebody that we're good enough now.
And with that, Ted asked then, can you then handle when people bring those things back up? Can you still feel like the victor if you've let all that go?
Yes. And actually, Ted, I will tell you, it's only been a few days and I'm still processing, but in many ways, I feel like more of one.
Wow.
Because I've realized how difficult it truly can be to set our victim free. Because our victim, and this is the conversation I had with my friend Sarah this morning, the victim is also a safety net.
Ooh, because Shayna just asked, is there some weird comfort in the pain?
Absolutely. Because if we are overwrought with pain, anxiety, or depression, it is a very, especially now, acceptable excuse not to move forward and do something.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. That could be kind of scary, couldn't it? Then?
Yes.
Because you're no longer motivated away from now.
Yes.
You've lost that. You've lost what motivated you to get to where you felt victorious.
Right. But it's a matter of reframing it and seeing. And that's kind of what he was showing me, is that you're victorious because of where you've brought yourself to. You're victorious because of what you did with all of that. That's the essence and truth of who you are. The pain and the emotion is just extra baggage you're bringing with. You already did what you needed to do with that. And you know why you did it. You know why it matters. You have empathy for people who are struggling. But dragging along all that emotional pain with you is just extra baggage.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I have stronger boundaries and I have a better reflection. When I look in the mirror, I have a better reflection as to who I am. And I'm not carrying the guilt and the shame and those kinds of things. Doesn't mean, like I have a client after the show today, that when she walks through the office, I don't have empathy and compassion for her. I will, because I'm an empathetic, compassionate person.
Right.
I don't have to go in there and thinking along the way of all the detriment of my life and every mistake I ever made and trying to make up for it and trying to be worthwhile. And he said, because, and I said literally the words that came to my head as I was filtering through this before the thing is it's like I'm chasing a validation that I'll never receive. Because here's the thing, 1 million people can tell you how wonderful you are, how brave you are, how smart you are. They can tell you all those things. But as long as we drag our victim shadow with us,
right,
there's always going to be, but the next one needs to. But I need another one too. But I need another one too. And the truth is that the only person you're really seeking is you two. And in order to do that, you have to let go of the victim status of all the people who told you weren't, that you believed. Because throughout our life, situations, events, and things unfold, and we get perceptions of what is right and wrong, where we should have shame and guilt, people guilt us and what have you. And so we have to see those things for ourselves to let go of all the things, and I want everybody to hear this very clearly, that people ever told us that we were and we believed.
And on that, Shayna says, someone brought to my attention that super empathy does not give the superpower to do another's soul work.
That would be correct.
Felt that. Yeah. I think people who are just coming to realize and understand that they are empaths or have an empathic ability. I have discovered, I thought I was, I'm not so much an empath. I have some tendencies and things that evolve around it, but that's it's more of an energy thing. It's not as deep an empathic
but
thing.
That's a good point, because that is actually an empath. Here's the difference. Here's where people are confusing it.
Okay.
Some people feel that being overly empathetic is being an empath. No. Being overly empathetic is an emotional thing. Empathy is an emotion.
Right.
Being an empath is the ability to feel the energetic emotion of another human being. Separate issues.
Oh, okay. All right. Then
you are empathic, meaning you have empathy and understanding of another human being's thinking process, emotional status, auric field, whatever it is. Everybody picks up things a little bit differently. But being overly empathetic, empathy is an emotion.
Right.
Being overly empathetic, I love you, Shayna, being overly empathetic can be a sign of the victim mode. Because, and I speak that not from a high horse. I speak that from the glass house. Okay, so being overly empathetic can be a sign of the victim mode, because when we're overly empathetic, we're feeling the wound of another human being and we're wanting to relate to them. And it's actually an internal desire to understand them enough that someone will finally see you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I can actually, whether I have my, whether I'm looking at the door or whatever, I can tell when a person enters a room. I can feel it.
That is an empath.
I don't even have to look. I can feel when someone walks in a room, and I will tell you that most people, insofar as their energy, for me, it doesn't. It's not a pleasant feeling. It's kind of gross.
Well, because people don't clean their
very,
auric field. I mean, we could do a whole show on the auric field.
It feels very invasive, and that's why I have very large personal space.
That's why you feel it.
So you can't stand huggers. I hate.
You can bring your, like when you're here in the office, you can. I can teach you. We can do a whole show on this, where you can bring your energetic field in smaller so that you don't feel every person that walks through the door. There's a way to control that energetic field to where it's smaller. And if yours is if you keep yours so big because you're trying to keep people away, you have to remember that being an empath, you're keeping it so big that you feel everything that comes through it. So when you make it that big, every person that comes through the door is going to walk through it. You can make it smaller where you don't have to feel their ick, and they can come through. So, but that's being an empath.
Okay.
Being empathetic is an emotion.
All right. See,
and that's where
I was definitely confusing the two.
Well, and that's, we get key phrases and tag words that society likes to use, and then they do get confused. Kind of like in truth, narcissist. Anybody who has an asshole moment is a narcissist, and it's like, wait a minute.
No, maybe you were just a jerk in that moment,
right? Like, and I have great news for everyone. Great news for everyone, and I'm sure I'll be a hit today. Every single person, including the love and light, rainbows and butterflies and glitter in the air people, we all have a narcissistic moment and narcissistic tendencies when we react to certain situations.
Absolutely. Shayna's now laughing. She's like, asshole moment, lol. She's probably going to be using that one now.
A true blue diagnosed narcissist, first off, is somebody who's been through so much incredible pain that it was their only way to protect themselves from it. So I'm not saying it's okay for a narcissist to harm people, but try to find some compassion so that you don't attach to it for the fact as to why someone's a narcissist. Secondly, they're not that common. But it became a throw around word that, again, is kind of like empath now. Well, but I'm going to completely dislodge this human being and consider them an incredible human being to the rest of the world because of what they did to me in that moment. They're narcissistic. No, a true blue narcissist is something totally different. And I have a dealings with somebody in my life that has, I've talked about it before, they're in recovery. And people say, well, are they a narcissist? And I'm like, there are moments when something triggers them that you could put the picture next to the word in the dictionary and say, oh, there you. But those are moments of pain being triggered that's their reaction to it. As an overall human being, no. And that's where society makes real quick snaps judgments of people to determine what somebody is. But in truth, what we're doing when we do that is saying, I don't want to deal with you and I want to justify the fact that I'm going to judge you. That's okay. And I'll put that blame on you.
So, and at that, with that in mind, Ted does say, though sometimes as an empath, things negative happening in your own life can get in the way of being able to pick up on your own empathic ability. And and by the way, Shayna is definitely using that phrase now.
But things, if someone's a genuine empath, or here, let's even stop that word right now and say, let's just say if someone's a genuine human being, things negative happening in our own lives, that's when we choose who we are. We're never going to be able to stop negative things from happening in our life. And I don't care how long you sit in your recliner envisioning the world a better place and, bunnies farting rainbows and unicorns running through your front yard. You can sit there and you can give up life by sitting in the dream of that, or you can be clear in your focus and who you are, but know that when something negative comes up in your life, it doesn't have to be seen as a negative. What it is it's an uncomfortable moment that's being presented in front of you. who am I and what am I going to do with this and why am I feeling about it the way that I'm feeling about it? That is where we grow.
Shayna has a question.
Yes, ma'am.
She does say, and I could answer this for myself, but not others. Shayna says, will a true narcissist's energy present differently to you? Um,
I have yet to see that now, because before I came to this realization that I was dragging my victimhood along with me in life. I would have said I was a very huge target for a narcissist, because not only would I feel their hurt that caused them to become the narcissist, but I had all this justifying I had to do to make up for all my own mistakes. So I would want to save them. And now I will probably see that differently, but I have not been presented with the narcissistic behaviors.
I can tell you what, because I do know actually a couple of actual diagnosed narcissists who also are something on the sociopathic spectrum.
Generally, they are.
And
right.
And their energy when they walk in a room, it's like a lot of hands, arms, fingers. They're looking for.
They're feeling it.
They're walking into a room, and it feels like a lot of hands, arms, fingers, ropes, whatever you. It's very ropish kind of energy. It's like trying to find something to hook onto.
Well, see, and that's an interesting topic, because here, my friend in New York and I had this conversation once about the narcissistic people.
Me,
and again, there's very few that are genuinely diagnosed narcissists. It's not as easily as what they're throwing around now, but it's the same thing I feel. And no, I am not calling every person in recovery a narcissist, nor am I calling every addict a narcissist. So hear this whole concept out before throwing a judgment or taking this too personally. And if you react to it, then ask yourself why you react to it. The narcissist becomes the narcissist because they've experienced incredible pain in their lifetime. If you do any research on true narcissism, they've experienced such a high level of pain that it was the only way their mind could protect them from feeling that pain is to learn to feel nothing and to just feed off of another human being. Okay. So everybody says they're evil, they're this, they're that. Okay, but here's my argument with that. And it's not that you have to accept a narcissist abuse. You do not have to accept. You don't have to accept abuse from anyone, regardless of why they're doing it. But find the compassion rather than the hate. Find the understanding and rather than the hate, so that you can have an understanding of it versus carrying that hate. Hate and anger is a very heavy load to carry. They had to have at one point been such an incredibly sensitive person who cared so much that they absorbed so much of it that they had only one way to protect themselves.
And that's to shut it off.
Yes. Hence addiction. As you judge somebody who's trying to conquer an addiction or in an addiction, and I hear these words and I hate these words, an addict is manipulative, an addict is mean, an addict is thoughtless, an addict is a thief, an addict is, an addict is, an addict is. I would love the wording to be changed. Addictive behavior causes. Because they're trying to hide the addiction. They're trying to feed the addiction. They're making these choices. They're having to do these things for survival as the addiction has overcome them. Okay? So it's not who they are. If it was who they are, they would have never cared enough to feel bad enough to need the thing to ease the pain, to develop do you see the cycle?
Yeah.
So at one point they genuinely cared. So when we're labeling these people for life and we're judging this thing for life, you have to understand, first off, they had to have cared so much at one point that it became that painful they didn't know how to survive it. So the addiction to it and feeding that survival they have found causes certain behaviors and coping skills to develop as the way to survive and save yourself in the addiction. When they become sober, okay, they have to change their body chemistry to release the addiction, okay, because their body craves it now. It doesn't know what else to do. That's a freaking conquering in itself. But where we miss it, and where I feel like it's missed, is then they have to now unlearn those coping skills, those things that they developed, and those ways of living by understanding why they do that. And in order to do that and change those coping skills and understanding why it is that they do that, we have to allow, and I'm going to cry, we have to allow them to remember the person who was so kind and so thoughtful and so caring and so empathetic to the world that it hurts so much that they've developed the addiction in the first place. Allow them to go back to being good and realizing that that's where it came from. Now let's work on changing those behavioral traits that learned it. And anybody who wants to judge that, I ask you, have you ever had a personality trait, a reaction to something, or a way that you treated someone that you wish to change?
Well, yeah.
And I'll bet everybody can answer that question. It's easier to judge somebody else, and it comes back to that theory of, but they're worse, so I'm okay. If I can look at them and make them the villain, then my villain isn't so bad. It's kind of like the TV show Dexter. Have you ever seen Dexter?
A long time ago, bits of it. I never really got into it.
It's so popular, and I know people that watch it, and I hate for teens to watch it. And no, I'm not one of those that believes that this is what changes everybody. But there are certain personality traits and things in people, and certain thought processes and personality types in teens that should not watch this. And here's why. He's a serial killer that works on the police department. Okay, he's an investigator. He works for the police department, and he's a serial killer that kills only the serial killers.
Okay. I vaguely remember that premise. All right.
So here's my problem with a world and a society right now that seems to justify somebody else's behavior or somebody else doing wrong as their own approval to be whatever it is they're doing that isn't working out well. Okay. But I'm a serial killer, and I'm going to feed my serial killer need, but I'm only going to kill the serial killer. So therefore, those people are worse than I am. So therefore, I'm good. Do you see that concept?
Yeah.
I have a problem with that concept.
My evil is just a little bit better than their evil.
Right.
They're not quite as dark.
Right. So therefore, my evil's justified, and I'm only going to reflect on theirs, and I'm going to be a hero now. I'm going to be a hero now because that person's moment, that person's issue, that person's whatever is worse than mine. And I've heard people say it before. I actually had somebody tell me one time, well, I figured out finally I'm not an alcoholic. I happen to know that might not be the case, but I said, oh, great. Tell me, how'd you figure that out? It'd be a great thing to teach people, to judge it, explain it to me. They said, well, I quit drinking for 3 days and I didn't get the shakes.
No, go ahead.
And I said, okay. And they said, well, so-and-so quit drinking and they got the shakes, and I know they were an alcoholic, so I'm not. Okay. And that's so being me, and this is somebody who knows me really well, they said, how do you feel about that? I said, you can live in whatever dream or illusion we choose. We all have the opportunity to look at anything from a perspective that we choose from. And again, that might be a little bit harsh, but I know this person. I've known them since childhood. So it's a fair thing for me to be able to say to them because they know me. And they, in a weird way, them even having that conversation with me was an unconscious way of them saying, please set me straight on this because I know this isn't right. You know what I mean? Like, I know this doesn't make sense. It's almost like a reaching out for,
right. Can
you see I'm struggling here? Can you help me? Yeah. So it was okay. But the self-reflection thing, and we've talked about it on the air before, and we always get into the negative side of it. And we talked about that about with the two mirrors, is that there's different ways to look at it. And we should look at our behaviors, but we shouldn't justify our ill behaviors because somebody else did something worse. And when we are judging those things, the true way to get past it and the true way to evolve from it is to say, okay, yeah, I'm judging it. That's triggering me, and I don't agree with what happened there. But when it's something that sticks with you, meaning we hold on to anger, we hold on to spite, or the people who then call 27 other people to tell them how bad that person sucks. Okay.
the gossip.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you have to ask yourself, okay, it triggered me, and okay, I don't agree with what that person's doing. But the truth is if you're holding on to it that strong, if it's making that much of an impact on you, that's when you have to step back and go, okay, I don't agree with them. I don't agree with their point of view, but why is it triggering me the way that it's triggering me? Why am I this upset about it? Why does it hold this much value to me? And that's when you start digging for your own stuff. Because you can't react strongly to something that doesn't trigger something. We talked about that with the wound on the arm. You know, the same poke on the arm, if your arm's healthy and normal, you're just going to look at me funny and forget about it in 5 minutes.
Right.
But if you have a big infected wound there and I poke you in the arm, you're going to clock me. You're going to hold resentment. You're probably going to call Kent and say, can you believe what Lisa did? She's evil. You know, and then you're going to go on and on. And you're probably going to remember it for a day, a week, maybe a lifetime, because it caused you a lot of pain. My intention in poking you was the same. It's just how I was going to greet you to get your attention.
Yeah.
That was my intention both times,
Right.
both ways. So you have to stop and say, okay, why am I holding on to this anger the way I am? What's my role in it? Sometimes we don't want to say, we don't want to look at our wounds. So just a very easy term to use is, and what role did I play in this situation? Because face it, life's kind of like a big ongoing play.
Well, yeah.
Right? What role did I play in this situation? Especially when it's a continued situation. Because there's those situations where you run into somebody and a situation happens and that's when you go, ooh, something's triggering me. Like, why is that? And then there's the situations, the relationships, the friendships, the whatever that we stay in. We continue to battle for it. We continue to fight for it. And as we do that, and then, after years of it or whatever, and you go, oh my God, I can't believe that they never changed. And what role did we play in that? We stayed in that play. And I'm as guilty as anybody else is in certain situations. But those are the realities of seeing the truth. And my reality came, and I believe partially that the universe brings it when we're ready. That is part of my belief system anyway. And I was forced to go, okay, wow, this makes you feel this way. I don't consider myself to be a person that's really afraid of that much. I have fears of course, like something happened to my children and, those things, but like being afraid in life that much.
Yeah.
I certainly am not usually afraid to kind of throw my skeletons out there for the world to see. But faced in this moment where I'm going to be challenged with this person who can see through any bullshit I choose to throw out there, this anxiety, this fear came up, and I was forced to look at it and go, where is this coming from? And what is this? And then reanalyze all of these things. So like Shana said, how will a narcissist affect me? I don't know, because now my perception of me and what I owe to me and what I owe to the world is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I would be as sacrificing as I was before. Now that
it's very interesting though, because if you in the way you're talking about it, and the way I actually know, and they're diagnosed actual clinical narcissists who also have strong sociopathic tendencies.
Most of them do, right?
And I don't know if it's because I know that about them, but I feel their energy. I know their energy. I know how to talk with them and how to interact with them, but they know that, because I know that there's like this, it's like a glass window that is completely clear, and it's like a look through and see and say, any BS you bring my way, you're just it's gonna get laid out on the table. We're gonna deal with it,
right?
And then we're gonna keep moving forward. Right. If you want to have a conversation. They happen to be family members. And it's very interesting in that it's an interaction that is very unique. It's kind of
right.
bizarre. It's very unique, but can be incredibly rewarding because the exchange is always phenomenally genuine.
Right.
Because that understanding is there.
Well, and that's there are many narcissists that end up with sociopathic tendencies or borderline sociopath. And that's the other word. Those are words that get thrown around a lot too, because people need to understand a sociopath still has the ability to feel, but they disconnect it quickly.
Right.
They will the minute they do, it is a cord cut. Like they will disconnect and they will go into the other state because they don't want to feel. A psychopath no longer has the ability for compassion or feeling.
Mm-mm.
And I love that, some girl gets jilted by some guy, or some guy gets talked poorly by some girl, or she steals his tennis shoes, whatever. And she's a complete psycho. It's like, you know what? Let's stop throwing around all these words, because people are really getting a misconception for what these things are. And it becomes a very quick and easy way to judge. Just like the empath and empathic are not the same thing.
Right.
Or being empathetic and empathic are not the same thing. Being narcissistic and having a narcissistic reaction to a situation is not the same thing.
No.
And if you want to look at it from what that is, a narcissistic reaction, we all have them to certain things. There are certain things that will trigger us to such a level, such a deep wounded level, that we feel we have to fight, we have to block, and we have to not care about what happens to you. We're only going to protect self right now.
Right.
That's a narcissistic characteristic. So it's a narcissistic moment of reaction. It's a narcissistic way of reacting, but it's only for a moment.
Right. It's not an actual pattern or continued sustained behavior.
Right. So my belief is we need to stop telling people what they are, and understanding that the way these things work, what they are is they're reacting to a situation. And if that situation repeats, or that's a situation that's too much for you to deal with, walk away. But you don't need to go get 27 other people to convince them that somebody sucks, to make somebody feel like a complete outsider, to make them feel that there's no hope, and to make whatever it is they're trying to battle 10 times harder.
Right.
Walk away. And if you have compassion and you see that it's a moment of trigger, allow the moment, and then later back and say, can I ask you what had triggered that so much? Is there something I can do? And if it's someone you love or care about, what hurt you so badly? What did I do? Because I would like to avoid doing it again, but let's also see if we can help get rid of that. Let's also see if we can help heal that a little bit. See people for people, rather than a quick judgment of who's good and who's bad and who's a narcissist and who's this and who's that. Stop. Just stop.
Yeah.
The only person you're responsible for diagnosing is you. Yeah. And your response to it. So Pete's given me the finger, which means we're down.
I gave you 3 fingers. 3. Be very, very specific. We're on the radio. Most people cannot see how many fingers I'm giving you.
That means the minutes left. I just
Correct.
like to say it that way because Pete gets uptight.
I do.
So are there any other questions as we're kind of toning down here?
No, Shana just commented during your last, what you were describing there about narcissistic behaviors cause. And that's her statement. Narcissistic behaviors cause.
Right.
And it is, that's been my experience. And it really can be phenomenal when you know you're dealing with someone who truly is. Because like you said, and narcissism too, it's a defense mechanism. It's not necessarily that people say, oh, well, they're so full of themselves, they must be a narcissist. That's a facet of narcissism.
That's a characteristic, right?
It's a characteristic. That's not what makes a narcissist.
The bottom line comes down to life is this. If your life isn't going where you want, if you're continually having people placed in front of you that you don't feel are the type of people in your life, if you're continuing having repeating patterns and situations, if you're continuing with the same types of relationships ending in the same way, the only common core factor is you. So stop and look inside. What is it that's drawing these things to me? Why am I drawing these things back to me? What is it about me just start pulling the puzzle apart and looking at the pieces, and stop blaming every single person and assuming that every person on the planet is out to get you. Because throughout all the people and all the different people that we meet, if it's a continued pattern, there's only one repeating person in that pattern, and it's you.
So there. Now we all know it's you. We're down to 30 seconds.
Have a good day, everybody.
Have a good day.
Enjoy your Sunday.
Lisa at lisachangingperceptions.com. Shoot her a note if you'd like to get a session with Lisa. And again, remember, tune in. We are here every Sunday at 9 a.m. U.S. Central. Brought to you by the Bremer Team, Keller Williams, North Shore West. BremerTeam.com, 847-456-6334. And again, Lisa, thank you so much for another wonderful morning. It's been fantastic.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. Enjoy the sunshine if you've got it.